Ariana Rollins. You're listening to the Manifesting Guide. So what are the critical errors we can make in manifesting? That's exactly what we're discussing today on the Manifesting Guide. But just before we do that, if you're tired of pushing and forcing yourself to get things done, go get your Manifest Without Force or Frustration gift at highertrueself.com. It's completely free. Hey, and if you'd like notifications when I release a new episode, go to highertrueself.com/podcast. Podcast 51, 3 critical mistakes with manifesting. So I'm going to give you an overview, and then we're going to get into it. So number 1, visioning what you want is enough. Number 2, not recognizing when resistance comes in, when we are in sabotage or blocking what it is we want. And 3, not clearing the blocks that actually create resistance. This is Ariana Rollins with the Manifesting Guide. I'm so glad you're listening. So let's talk about visioning, because visioning is so important. And there's this often used quote by Einstein, how important imagination is versus knowledge. And here's why. Because knowledge is based on our experience. It's based on what we've learned. It's based on what's happened to us in our life. Versus imagination is forward-looking. So if we look at knowledge is backwards-looking. It's repeating the past. And if we look at imagination, it's future. It's causing. It's generating. And isn't that what manifesting is all about? So if we think that visioning what we want is enough, you might think, well, that's imagination, right? If we're just in that, why is that not enough? Here's why. Because if we stay in imagination and we don't follow through on the changes that need to be made, then we are inadvertently kind of operating our life from the head up. So bear with me here. So if you see yourself and you're thinking, you got this great idea, right? And you're sending this energy out from your head. And it's like, oh, I could do this and that's what I want and blah, blah, blah. And then the next day you start to wonder, well, I don't know how to do that. How's that going to happen? And unless you have a way of transferring that energy, that enthusiasm, that optimism, that can-do vision, the storehouse of your unconscious mind, it's the doer. And 95% of what we get done in our life, what is created on the planet by humans, comes from the body. The head has the inspiration. Our conscious mind is like, oh, yes. But unless we transfer that energy, transfer that vision, that imaginary experience of what we want, then we don't have access to the doing, the powerful doing that resides in our body. So visioning is the first step, but the second step, the vital second step, is taking action. And most importantly, inspired action. And this is a little metaphor from someone I was listening to their podcast. And she describes it like this. You want to vacuum your house. So you go over, you plug the vacuum in the wall, and you vacuum your house. But if you are just trying to manifest from head alone, and you don't have a way to communicate to your body or to the unconscious mind what you want, it's like vacuuming your entire house without plugging it in. So you'll see the lines like you're working hard, you're doing this, you're doing that, but it's not coming from inspired action. So that's the power of manifesting from inspired action, which comes from communicating to your unconscious mind what you want to happen and even by when. So that's number 1. We think that visioning alone is enough. Okay, second critical mistake in manifesting is not recognizing when resistance comes up. I know you've had the experience. You wake up, you're feeling pretty good, you're hopeful about your day. Maybe you've got some clients you're seeing, or maybe you're doing a project in the house, whatever it is, you've got some clarity around what you want to use your time for. You've got a certain number of hours and you're like, yeah, I've got the energy for it. I'm aligned. I'm energized. So you go have a little breakfast, you take a shower, and you get a phone call friend of yours is really upset, and you stop and you listen. Maybe that's an hour of your day gone. You get off the phone, and now you're like, where'd my energy go? Where's my enthusiasm? It's gone. It's evaporated. There's nothing wrong with supporting a loving friend and being there. But you need to know that you're now got resistance running in your body. You've got what we would call a blocker running. So maybe you shifted into friend mode, support mode. You're a nurturer. And now all that driving, manifesting energy to go do that project, or maybe do a marketing campaign if you're self-employed, it's evaporated. How do you get back in alignment? That's all about recognizing when you're operating from a place of, maybe we could call it doubt, uncertainty, fear. Now you're thinking, well, I was just spending time with a friend. Why am I in doubt, uncertainty, or fear? Well, if you're sensitive at all, like I am, you could pick up that energy from your friend. And without knowing, it's activated your own doubt and uncertainty and fear. So now you've gone from being on fire with your project or working with a client, and now you're like, ooh, all your energy's dropped and drained. What do? Well, that second critical mistake with manifesting is not recognizing when resistance has been activated, when a blocker is running. Okay, so awareness is part of the cure. So noticing when your optimism and your can-do energy is evaporated. Notice when you're procrastinating. Notice when you're decide, well, I'm just going to watch a movie for a little while. Maybe I'll get my energy back. And then you never get back to that project. And it's been 3 hours binge watching on Netflix. We all do it. But do we recognize it? That's the key piece, is recognizing when resistance has hit. Okay, third critical mistake with manifesting is not clearing the blocks that create the resistance. So we know we've been triggered. We know we've got resistance. We're not doing the project we intended to today. Instead, we spent time with a loved one, listening to them and helping them. Again, nothing wrong with that, but we need to shift gears. We now are in action mode. We're inspired. How do we get there? We clear the blocks. So think about this, that you've got a pattern, a habit, a way of being that it's hard to shift gears, so to speak. Maybe you're really loving and present with family, your friends and children, and it's not so comfortable to be in that active, proactive marketing mode if you're self-employed. It takes some shifting gears, literally. Maybe put a different hat on, for example. Okay, so now you need to shift gears. What do? Clear the blocks. The resistance that has started to take you off your path, that you are now out of alignment with what you intended for your day. Now, it takes too much time for me to walk you through how to clear a blocker, but if you are interested, I would love to show you how to do that. We've got some wonderful home study programs. One of them is just about blocker clearing. That's all you're doing. It's called Breaking Through Barriers. I can put that link in the show notes. But mostly, I would like you to manage these 3, maybe not mistakes, but awareness. I'd like you to hold them in your consciousness right now. Is noticing when you're just in imagination mode and visioning. And that notice when you've been taken off track. And then once you're there, you're ready to clear the blocks. And that's when we can do some wonderful work together. So I am so glad we had this time together. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please go to highertrueself.com/podcast and subscribe, and you'll get a notification when we have released our episode. And I can't wait to support you in clearing the blocks, and so what you imagine starts to happen without efforting, because you're operating from that inspired action. Bye for now. And if you're tired of pushing and forcing yourself to get things done, go get your Manifest Without Force or Frustration gift at highertrueself.com. It's completely free. Remember, when you confirm yourself and stop looking for others to recognize you, it frees you to be yourself. Thanks so much for listening.